So greetings. We are at the ResPack conference in the Hotel Lalit. Now we have with us Sundar Balakrishnan, who is the managing director of Natur-Tec. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank
Balakrishnan,
you.
for doing this.
Thank you.
So first of all, before we get into the technicalities of it, one quick question that comes to my mind is, what does responsible packaging mean to you, and why is it important?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks a lot for having me. It's really very nice to be back at ResPack. We have been
Amazing.
part of ResPack since its inception.
Oh, 5 years.
5 years we
Yeah.
have been with ResPack. So responsible packaging, it's a very generic word, but has a lot of meaning to it. Today, packaging is over-engineered.
Yeah.
Today, packaging is also very misunderstood.
Yeah.
And essentially, packaging is a way of convenience for people.
Yeah.
And this also ensures that there's a lot of packaging material that is left out in the environment, which has no, I would say, end of life.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
responsible packaging, it covers the entire gamut of packaging that could be responsibly removed
Yeah.
from the environmental compartment
Yeah.
once its use and lifespan is over. So it could encompass recyclability, it could encompass reusability,
Yeah.
it could encompass re-innovation of materials. I don't think there's one specific material that would fit into responsible packaging. Any
Yeah.
material which could enable the removal of the packaging from the environment could fit into this concept.
Yeah, of course. And now for our viewers, if you could just elaborate what, with your experience in material science and everything, what have you been doing with Natur-Tec, and what does Natur-Tec do in terms of its bio-based materials and everything? So if you can just elaborate.
Sure. So Natur-Tec, we are part of a US publicly listed company
Yeah.
called Northern Technologies International Corporation. We are NASDAQ traded.
Wow.
And we were the second company in India to get into bioplastics.
Okay.
This was way back in 2005
Yeah.
when Natur-Tec was part of a joint venture with the TVS group in India by a company called Harita NTI at that time. Essentially, we work on bio-based and compostable materials, biodegradable packaging. We've been supplying to industries that span flexible packaging, retail consumer packaging, food service packaging, any packaging which has a certain plastic component which can be potentially replaced with a bio-based component, which brings in probably a certain environmental attribute.
Okay.
And with a defined end of life. Now, compostability is one end of life. We could have biodegradability. It could be essentially degrading in any end of life environment. So, Natur-Tec as a company, we have been in the forefront in India and worldwide as well. The core of what Natur-Tec does is, if we see the value chain of biopolymers, you have essentially base raw material providers.
Yeah.
So typically the likes of a Balrampur Chini who's planning to get into PLA or NatureWorks.
Yeah.
Then in the value chain you have what we call as compounders. So Natur-Tec really fits into the compounding part of the value chain.
Okay. Wow.
So what we do is we take those base polymers
Yeah.
and then we reactively modify those base polymers to convert it into compounds which can then be taken to a wide variety of end applications. The third part in the value chain is actually converters who make these products. So you either have guys who make films, you have injection molding, thermoforming, and then they essentially supply to the end customer.
Yeah.
So Natur-Tec, we play a role in the compounding part of the value chain. But having said that, we also are very engaged with the final customer.
Okay.
Because a lot of what happens in the sustainability space, unfortunately, because of so much of greenwashing, the final brand or the customer is sometimes quite unsure on what they really want.
Okay.
And this is something that, we've observed as we go and speak to customers.
Yeah, of course.
So while being a part of the compounding value chain, we feel that it's very important to be connected, because that's when we understand what some of those expectations are, and we are able to tune whatever we need to do in
Yeah.
terms of bringing in those chemistries to
Yeah.
play.
So, quickly, two things. Since you touched upon the aspect of biodegradability, the industry uses the terms biodegradable and compostable quite frequently and interchangeably. So, is there any set way where, or is there any way in which these terms should be used, or how we can view these two differences? And number two is that when the conversations with brand owners are happening on that front, what is missing, or what do you think is actually missing from the brand owner side or from the packaging industry? Is it the lack of polymer science? Is it the lack of polymer science from the industry or from the brand owners, or what is the way?
Sure. So, I think the first question was, there's a lot of the terms like biodegradable, compostable, bio-based, bioplastic,
Yeah.
biomaterials is very interchangeably used today.
Yeah.
And the plastics waste management rule, which is put as part of the Government of India policy, actually calls out biodegradability and compostability as different. Unfortunately, in my personal opinion, I don't agree to that. To me, compostability is also a form of biodegradability. What it means is, compostability is essentially biodegradability in a certain environment, which is composting.
Yeah.
So, when the term biodegradability
Yeah.
has to be linked with an environment,
Yeah.
it has to be linked with a time frame,
Yeah.
and it has to be complete.
Yeah.
So, biodegradability without linking it to any of this has no meaning. So, if someone is going to say my material is biodegradable, to me it has no meaning, because if it's not a solution for littering. The general, I would say, notion with consumers is, if I use a biodegradable material, it gives me the liberty to litter, and it's going to eventually disappear, which is unfortunately not the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, biodegradability and compostability are part of the same coin.
Yeah.
It's just that you have to link it with a defined end of
Yeah.
life. And then, coming to what are brands today missing,
Yeah.
see, a lot of the times, at least our experience has been that when we go and talk to brands, I don't blame the brands. It's just that there's so much of greenwashing that's happening
Yeah.
around,
Of course.
that people are putting in a lot of thoughts and views to these brands.
Yeah.
So the brands are pretty confused. And as a supplier of any packaging, the general notion is, the supplier always wants to say that the packaging they supply is like a silver bullet. It basically can solve every problem.
Yeah.
This is also very confusing to the brand.
Yeah.
So, I'll tell you, compostability has got maximum value in applications where it's got direct food contact.
Okay. Yeah.
Why? Because when you have a food waste which is touching a plastic,
Yeah.
you can now neither treat it like a plastic, you can't recycle it because it's contaminated with food, nor can you take it to an end of life for food, which is either an anaerobic digester or a composter, because it's got a plastic to it.
Yeah.
Now, when you have a compostable plastic which biodegrades in the same rates of your food waste or your organic waste,
Yeah.
you take the material directly and put it into that end of life, then you don't have to separate and you have solved the problem. So, compostability has value in certain applications.
Yeah.
For example, if you take that PET bottle,
Yeah.
if you would ask me, would that make sense to make it compostable? I would say no. Because PET is a very, very highly recycled material.
Yeah.
And making it compostable is not going to add any value. So, to your point, I think if there is just so much of misinformation in the market to these brands, that everyone is confused. So tomorrow, even if there is a genuine company going in and talking about a genuine compostable packaging,
Yeah.
it's treated with a lot of suspicion. Brands really don't know whom to believe.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
And Professor Sivaram, in the morning speech, he alluded to something. He actually urged the industry to avoid using recycled polyolefins for direct food contact applications, because his claim was uh, it might be harmful to us, or there's not been much study on that front. So, what is your take on that, and how what is the industry actually looking for?
Yeah, so I think anytime a material, I don't think it's just with polyolefins. Anytime a material goes into a
Yeah,
post-consumer waste recycle system,
yeah,
you have a challenge
yeah,
because now you are not able to control what actually
yeah,
comes out.
yeah.
And as a result, I think it's just not with polyolefins, it's with
Mm-hmm.
polyesters, it's with any material.
Yeah.
Using post consumer waste recycle for direct food contact, I think we need to be scientifically
Mm-hmm.
validated, and it needs to have a lot of assurance that there's not going to be any heavy metal contamination and all the other challenges associated with any post consumer stream.
One of my key takeaways from your presentation at ResPack 2 years ago was that you said partial biodegradability causes more harm than no biodegradability at all. So, of course, that statement holds a lot of value and holds a lot of deep thought, research, and all the examples that have put into. So, can you share
Yeah.
some stories, or can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So, uh, biodegradability is, uh, let's say, you put a certain packaging into an environment, you call it as biodegradable. Now, if that material, let's say, breaks down partially,
Yeah.
then the ability for that material to form certain particulates, which could be micro or
Yeah.
certain even nanoparticulates, is very high. So, essentially, what we have done
Yeah.
is we have taken a material like plastic,
Yeah.
which is recyclable,
Hmm.
which can be collected,
Hmm.
and we have converted it into a material which is now difficult to collect
Hmm.
and difficult to recycle. So this is the challenge with anything that is pseudo biodegradable or which is
Hmm.
partially
Hmm. Hmm.
biodegradable.
Yeah.
You don't take it to its complete end of life.
Yeah. Of course.
So what we have done is, because I don't believe that plastics are the nemesis. I
Hmm.
don't believe that. I
Yeah.
think plastics are great materials.
Yeah.
It's certain applications where we will have to understand that are there alternates to plastics which makes more sense
Yeah.
in terms of an end of life perspective, in
Yeah.
terms of a beginning of life perspective.
Hmm.
So partial biodegradability in the true sense, it's something is which causes more harm,
Hmm.
which is in the garb of breaking down.
Yeah.
And this is the bigger challenge, because when things are partially biodegradable, most of the times it's not visible to the human eye.
Hmm.
Now this is a bigger problem.
Yeah.
So see, when you see a plastic,
Yeah.
you at least know this is a plastic. When you see when you don't see these microscopic bits of plastics which is floating around, you know those materials are not there, but it's out there, it's a
Hmm.
bigger problem.
Hmm.
So this is where we need to be very clear that when you are engineering biodegradability as a functionality into a
Hmm.
polymer, you have to define, again I go back to the same point,
Hmm.
define the environment.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Why? Because you don't want the consumer to believe that you can throw it wherever they want.
Yeah.
That's one.
Of course.
Second, define timeline. Why do standards say 6 months? Because if you let that material sit out in the environment, you are allowing that material to be partially broken down.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that's why they say timeline.
Yeah.
And third, define that it's complete so that it's not partial.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
And since Natur-Tec provides bio-based solutions, the flexible packaging applications rely highly on monomaterials or multi-materials such as LDP, HDP. So, how does your bio-based materials match the quality as that of an LDP or an HDP to provide the similar barrier properties, or line printability, or all those qualities which can be.
Sure. See, first of all, I think biopolymers are at a relatively nascent stage when you compare it to conventional polymers.
Hmm.
Conventional polymers have been around for over 80, 90 years.
Yeah.
Biopolymers, commercially, I would say, have been around for about 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
So there is a gap there. That's one. Um, because the chemistries are very different, I think one of the versatilities that conventional polymers have, because they are essentially carbon hydrogen molecules, you can you can beat the hell out of those materials and they will still behave the way you want them to behave.
Yeah.
Biopolymers are not as robust
Yeah.
in that perspective. The third point is, even from a processability perspective, I think a lot of the improvements, whether it's the process technologies, the conditions, the machineries, the screw profiles, everything has evolved for conventional polymers. So today, what we are trying to do in the biopolymer industry is we are trying to give drop-in solutions to the existing machinery. So ideally, we are not defining a new screw for a biopolymer, while it should be. But today, what we are doing is, okay, here is an infrastructure. They already have all these machines. Can you just put in your raw material and make it?
Yeah.
So the I think the level of experience that is there in conventional polymers is not there in biopolymers, but it's evolving.
Yeah.
And finally, when it comes to functionality, I think there are certain biopolymers which provide good strength, good
Yeah.
toughness to conventional polymers, but properties like barrier, for example,
Yeah.
it's a holy grail as far as biopolymers are concerned. Why? Because when you make something very tough, when you make something very watertight, you are again taking it back to a system where it's going to be difficult to biodegrade. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
You can't make something break down when you want it to break down, but till the time you want it to break down, it has to be really good.
Yeah, of
It
course.
doesn't work that way. So there's always a very thin line between functionality
Yeah.
and end of life. So I always call for this. I have this rule where I tell people, you have this triangle where on one side you have performance, the other side of the triangle you have sustainability, and on the third side you have cost. And the point is, you can at any point of time have only two out of the three. So if you want the lowest cost material, which is high performance, then you need to give in for sustainability,
Yeah.
which means you have to use conventional plastics.
Yeah.
If you want a highly sustainable material with good performance, you should be willing to pay more for it. So it's always a trade-off
Yeah.
between what you want versus what is available out
Yeah.
there. But having said that, if you see the evolution of biopolymers over the last 25, 30 years, yes, cost has gone down, performance properties have improved,
Yeah.
there's more knowledge in terms of how to work with these materials,
Yeah.
and more applications are getting opened up. So it's a journey like how conventional plastics went through. I think biopolymers are going through that same journey.
And how are the brands responding on that front? For example, the triangle that you mentioned. What are brands exactly looking for? And number two, are they looking to reduce the carbon footprint? Or number three, are they looking for sustainable solutions along with balancing cost? Or are they looking for the entire triangle itself?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think what brands are today looking for is definitely sustainable solutions while balancing cost.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of the market growth happens through policy intervention in this industry. Because if not for policy, I don't think anyone would really look into, talking about, hey, why do I need to move into more sustainable materials? Of course, there are brands who really want to do it, but that's a very small percentage. Especially in a market where it's highly price driven, very cost sensitive. India as a market is extremely price driven and cost sensitive market. So even a small paise here or there for a brand, it's a huge hit.
Yeah.
So for them, they are looking into sustainable solutions where there is a certain policy intervention, but at the same time, they want to be able to balance the cost out. So I think it's a combination of balancing sustainability and cost at this point, at least. Cost continues to be a major driver.
Yeah, and since you said Natur-Tec acts as a compounding in between the raw material supplier and the converter, uh, for converters who are looking to opt for bio-based solutions such as yours, how easy is it to use your solutions, or can it be retrofitted into their existing lines, converting lines, or how does that? What are the typical challenges?
See again. I think converters today are using existing facilities, what is available with them.
Yeah,
So it's not too difficult.
yeah,
Uh, there are some tweaks they would need to do in terms of the process parameters,
yeah,
but it's fairly simple.
yeah.
And that's one of the big advantages, that when we take it to our end customers, we tell them that when you use our solutions, you don't have to really, change your entire infrastructure in any way.
Yeah.
It's going to utilize whatever
Hmm.
whatever is there. Now, for converters, again, there is a learning curve,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
would say, with any new material.
Yeah.
So they go through that learning curve, and once they go through that learning curve, they're pretty comfortable in working with these new
Yeah.
polymers. I think it's that initial stigma associated with, obviously, anything new.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm. Hmm.
there's some resistance, there's some stigma, but
Yeah.
I think over time they get used to it. And we have today over 300 clients in India
Yeah.
as Nature-Tec,
Wow.
who have gone through their own learning curves and experiences.
Yeah.
Every customer has reacted differently, has probably experienced a different version of a
Hmm.
new
Hmm.
material.
Yeah.
But as long as they know that we are there to support them, to handle them, to make sure that we give them the confidence that, hey, as you are going through this transition, we are with you,
Hmm.
that brings a lot of credibility to
Hmm.
the customer.
One more thing I would like to understand with the brands you speak to on a regular basis, uh, being sustainable, which is the option that they choose for, what what exactly drives it? Is it so, like you mentioned, regulatory framework is the most important aspect which is driving the Indian packaging fraternity right now. So, is it also the consumerism? Is it also the consumers being more conscious, environmentally conscious? Is it also that factor, or is it also the will to be actually sustainable?
So it's a combination of everything.
Yeah.
I think the biggest driver is definitely regulatory.
Hmm.
I think that's the biggest driver. Uh, Having said that, even within the regulatory driver, you have brands who would still want to be very cost conscious, and
Yeah.
they would they would probably say, hey, let's compromise a little on the performance, but let's make sure we take care of the regulatory part and bring
Hmm.
the cost as low as possible. So
Yeah.
that's one. There are brands who want to, uh, consciously do something responsible.
Hmm.
uh, we see those brands. I mean, there
Okay.
have been brands, and for them, it's more about internal
Hmm.
processes,
Yeah.
what they believe in.
Yeah.
And interestingly, there are brands who want to see whether they can use this as a differentiator as they sell their product into the market.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I can, there was one particular brand. So I can tell you an example. We were giving these films, which was essentially used for packing apparels,
Yeah.
and these apparels were actually put on the shelves.
Yeah.
So more like, like if you want to see like handkerchiefs or
Hmm.
socks
Hmm.
and things like that. And our film was a little translucent.
Hmm.
It wasn't completely transparent.
Hmm.
So the we were not very sure what the customer is going to say, but this one particular customer really looked at this packaging and said, hey, this is absolutely great.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
don't want it to look like my existing, because then my customers will not know. So
Yeah.
this has
Yeah.
got a very nice opacity.
Yeah.
As long as it meets my requirements, I'm good to go.
Of course.
So a lot of this is very perceptive,
Yeah.
but it also stems from the fact that
Hmm.
how much do you really believe that this is important for
Hmm.
you as a brand?
Yeah.
It all stems from that. If you don't believe it, that it's important,
Hmm.
then the brand will not take that extra step
Yeah.
to go and make something.
Hmm.
It's about givens, right? I mean,
Hmm.
are you willing to give in? What are you willing to give in for this?
Yeah.
There's always a given. You can't have a material like a plastic, behave like a plastic, look like a plastic, work like a plastic, cost like a plastic, and disappear when you want it to.
Yeah, sure.
It's
Of
not.
course. Of course. And one of the things we have picked up is that you have often mentioned the flexible packaging as a multi-layered challenge. So why is it that being material agnostic is, a best value proposition for a bioplastic supplier?
Sure. Um, as I said, biopolymers are in a very evolving stage.
Yeah.
Today you have the polyester chemistries, which is why you kind of make it compostable or biodegradable. Each biopolymer brings in a certain functionality or a certain value proposition. So if I look at PLA, PLA's got a it's very brittle it's a very brittle polymer,
Yeah.
but it also has the ability to be made into a very, very transparent film. But when you look at PBAT, which is polybutylene adipate coterephthalate, it's again another compostable polymer.
Yeah.
It's got a very high elongation to stretch, but it's not fully transparent.
Yeah.
So you have other materials. You have PBS, which is polybutylene succinate. That's got a certain functionality. You have polyhydroxybutyrates. You have polycaprolactones. So biopolymers have not evolved to be a polyethylenes or a polypropylenes.
Yeah.
Okay, it will evolve.
Yes.
You will get it to a point where there can be one material which can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Today it's
Eventually.
not there.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to be agnostic, because then you can pick and choose what you want. You know what to react, what to compound, how to mix
of
and
course.
do things.
So one final question before
Sure.
we leave you. So looking at India's current waste management system, what are the missing pieces that we need to urgently fix to ensure that the certified compostable plastics find their correct end of life environment?
So that's a good question. Again, I think again there's no one answer to this. Waste is a very complex topic,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, no one wants to get associated with waste because it's yucky. People don't want to be in the waste business.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of challenges in the waste business. I think what is important for us is to evolve this industry in a phased manner. I think the mistake we are trying to do here is a couple of things. One, we are talking about compostable plastics as an alternate to plastics. But I think we have to understand, number one, what is the value that compostable plastics is going to give for that particular application.
Yeah.
That's one. So I would say driving it in a phased approach makes a lot of sense. For example, compostable plastics are great for collecting wet waste.
Yeah.
So instead of saying that I'm going to use compostable plastics for complete wet waste, can we start with areas where there are the highest generators? Who are the highest generators of wet waste? It's all your restaurants, your hotels.
Yeah.
Can we mandate using compostable bags to separate this wet waste at the restaurant?
Of
See, you
course.
can't take something to a consumer level without perfected at a level which is more easier.
Of course.
Okay. Second, what is the problem is the problem is not the technology. We have technology for composting. We have technology for collecting the material. We have compostable plastics. We have food waste. We have organic waste.
Yeah.
The problem is not that. The problem is how do you collect it? How do you ensure it's separately collected and taken to these infrastructures?
Yeah.
Now tell me, if I were to start this project at a household level, it's going to be so difficult.
Yeah. Of
But
course.
can I look at areas where it's easier for me to collect it? So when I look at collection, I'll give you an example. You must have traveled in a Shatabdi.
Yes.
Okay. Now Shatabdi is a point A to point B train.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you make all your packaging inside the Shatabdi compostable? Then what you can envisage a model where you have two composting infrastructures in two stations. You put everything in, you collect everything. In Shatabdi, you don't even have the option of throwing it out because the windows are closed.
Yeah.
Take your compostable plastic as it goes to the next station, put it into the composting pit. Then it comes to this station, you have another composting pit here.
Hmm.
So it's a model where it's easier to collect airports,
Yeah.
restaurants, football, cricket stadiums,
Yeah.
all your IPLs, for example, uh, airlines, where it's easy to collect because now you're collecting it. I think we have to simplify the problem into what is achievable rather than putting policies and saying that it's going to replace plastic. Because what we are doing in that process is that there is no solution to it, so which means there is no
Yeah.
replacement.
Yeah.
So I think this is a very, very complex problem, and it's not a problem to do with only a material. It's a problem to do with material, technology, logistics,
Yeah.
and consumer awareness. Even today, like when I was in the airport this morning, there are 3 bins.
Yeah.
So every time I get into bins, I actually peep in and see whether those bins have what they call, and it's mixed completely. So maybe a simple thing, you could have a person in every airport standing next to a bin.
Yeah.
People flying have a little bit of awareness.
Yeah.
You could that particular person can say, hey, if it's a paper cup, you have to throw it in this bin.
Yeah.
And if someone is coming to throw it in another bin, you stop them and you teach them.
Yeah.
You do it for a year, things will improve.
Yeah, of course.
So I think the problem is not easy. The sooner we accept that the problem is not easy, the easier it would be to solve it. If we think that we can just change the material and solve the problem, it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Amazing. Well said. If we are just going to change the material, it's not going to solve the problem. That's my key takeaway.
Yeah.
So that's it from
Thank you.
from my side. So before we leave, there's one important update. So this is the new What Packaging magazine. This is for you.
Okay.
We
Great.
have rebranded, repackaged,
Nice.
and
Looks
refurbished
beautiful.
the magazine.
Thank you.
So it's the launch at this event. So
Thank
this
you.
is for
Thank you. Very nice. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, and wishing you all the best.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much, Mr.
Thank you.
Balakrishnan.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Take
lot.
care. Thanks.